Hey, everyone. It's Tuesday, and you know what that means, right? Right? Well, it's time for our Tuesday video. And I am just wondering, what do people want to hear about today? What are people looking to hear about today? Could it be about Bitcoin? Bitcoin? Yeah, I'm thinking people want to hear about Bitcoin today. And today we are going to deliver on this. I am going to talk about Bitcoin. I am going to talk about Bitcoin ETF. What, in my opinion, is going to unfold over the next 12, 18, 24 months, and give you a little bit of an insight into what and how and why and all that stuff. All right, but before I do that, you know what is coming next. I'm gonna have to rewrite these. It's starting to get like a little yellowed out. Yeah, well, hey, I mean, the information's still good. All right, so this is the legal disclaimer, which is that this video and all of the content from my company, ATG Digital Media, which I will be plugging next, is not financial or investment advice. In other words, you're responsible for what you do with any of the information, opinion, engagement that you get. Entertainment. I said opinion, information, entertainment, engagement. Those are the four things. Yeah. But not investment advice, not financial advice. Past performance is not equal to future results. So I talk about what Bitcoin did, in some past period. Yeah, it doesn't mean that, it's guaranteed to happen in the future. Errors, mistakes, oversights are happen because I'm a human being, and the team at ATG Digital, as awesome as they are, we make mistakes from time to time. Capital loss is a likely and potential outcome. In other words, when you put on a trade, put on a investment, put on a speculation, you can lose money, and you should consider that before you do anything. Last, I, the owners, contractors, employees, associates of ATG Digital Media, we own, trade, transact, and in the investments that are mentioned in this video, in our model portfolios, in our updates, in my expos, in the Bald Man Speculating podcast, which you should check out. It's on Spotify. And yeah, I mentioned ATG Digital Media. So this is the media company that has all of essentially my investment research, model portfolios. It's at atgdigital.media. Paid subscriptions begin at $9.99. Now, what do you get for that? Well, you get a laser focus on innovation, growth, and opportunity. And what does that mean? Well, it means that we don't look at old school bank stocks, oil stocks. We are focused on what I'll call new world stocks. Why? Because that's where we believe the world is going. That's the world we're going to live in. And that's where we believe the big money is going to be made. So our portfolios, we focus on innovation, growth, opportunity, get stock and crypto picks, updates, market strategy, commentary. And if you want to check it out completely for free, you can go to my Substack, paulmanpuli.substack.com. All right. So Bitcoin, all in the news today because big pump, essentially between yesterday and today, went from essentially like 28,000 to 35, and there's excitement building because there's news associated with it. There's news associated with just that sooner rather than later, there is going to be a Bitcoin ETF. And in previous videos on this channel, I've told you that this potentially has, the ability to open the floodgates to a lot of money pushing into Bitcoin, because an ETF is quite easy to buy. Everyone pretty much can access an ETF. You can buy it in your Schwab account, your Fidelity account, your E-Trade account, any brokerage account, your Robinhood account. No need to open up a crypto account. No need to deal with any of that. And there's a lot of people that have, I'll call legacy world brokerage accounts, which have offer no access, zero access to Bitcoin. And even the few Bitcoin sort of ETFs, that have been there based on futures, some of them don't allow you to actually buy them. So a straightforward, plain vanilla Bitcoin ETF would definitely get a lot of money. So there's been a lot of excitement, and various companies have been trying to get a Bitcoin ETF for it's at least been 12, 18 months. And we've told you in particular about one, Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. So this is the original sort of non-Bitcoin stock that people have owned, really. I mean, I think they've been around since, I want to say 2013. Don't hold me to that. But if you wanted to, participate in Bitcoin, for example, in the run in 2016 and 2017, and you didn't, feel confident, comfortable, or aware of Coinbase, well, you would have owned GBTC, the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. And this company, Grayscale, which is the asset management company that manages the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, they went to turn it into an ETF, and the SEC, which is the part of the government that regulates investment markets, essentially just kind of ignored them. So they took the SEC to court, and the court said, "What are you doing? You gotta, you gotta look at this." And the SEC lost, and they lost in such a way that, it was just a complete, utter, abject defeat. And now it looks inevitable that there will be a Bitcoin ETF, and not just one, not just GBTC. I mean, there'll be an array of others. I mean, the big mega asset management company BlackRock has applied for an ETF. Cathie Wood's ARK Innovation has applied for an ETF. I believe VanEck, which is a fairly large ETF company, has applied for a Bitcoin ETF. So there's going to be a lot of ETFs. And that means a lot of money that's going to be pushing in. So this hype, this excitement is justified, Nonetheless, I mean, I don't, recommend short-term trading. I don't really push for it, but there is definitely going to be short-term trades, medium-term trades, and long-term trades. And if, past history is any indication, into the approval of probably GBTC, the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, which we have told you in previous videos was trading at some point for nearly a 50% discount to the underlying Bitcoin that was sitting in that trust. And we have told you that, that was one of the best ways to buy Bitcoin. That discount is now down to something like 12, 13%. It's all likelihood it's going to disappear over the next week or two, my best guess is. So they're likely to be the very first ETF that gets approved, and then there'll be probably 7 or 10 in no time. So many people are like, "Hey, Paul, what will the Bitcoin price be once the ETF is approved?" Well, I mean, if I were to guess, and this is me just sticking my finger into the air, because there's no way to really know, for a fact like gravity, right? I mean, I've said that, well, I think that, it'll probably get to something like 45,000, 48,000 in the time frame it takes for the SEC to sort of look it through the applications and finally give its approval. I've said that might take 30 days, maybe 45 days, maybe it comes sooner. But we'll see a very rapid ramp up in Bitcoin price as the ETF approval becomes clear. And, word will get out because, who works on these approval process? Well, it's staff members at the SEC. I mean, it's people. So word's going to get out hey, this is coming. So this will pilfer out into markets. And then we'll have very standard market behavior, which is what? Well, people are betting on the event, right? And they're not waiting for the event to bet on it. Everyone thinks that, as if people are going to come and, go and buy everything. In fact, speculators will anticipate the event and buy into it. And that's what causes the rise. And then very predictably, of course, those folks will sell out. So the short-term trade is a pump into the ETF approval. So that is the number one thing that, in my opinion, is going to happen, which is that we're starting to see this pump, right? It's gone from 28 to 35 in what, like 2 days. So, I mean, this could pump. I mean, I said 45,000, maybe it goes to, I don't know, something higher than that. But into this ETF rule, we're going to see a massive pump. And that is short-term speculators coming to bid this higher in anticipation of an event, which is the first ETF approval. And then we're then after that going to see a period of profit taking, which is completely and utterly normal. But then you get into the really big money stage, which is that after the short-term speculators have sold out, and people start questioning, oh, that was just a pump, it was terrible, oh, it's the same old Bitcoin again, then, well, the money's going to start coming in a big way into the ETF. I mean, BlackRock is going to do what once it gets its ETF rule? Well, they're going to send their salespeople around the world. Hey, we have a Bitcoin ETF. Come and invest in it. Come and invest in it. All right. And everybody else is going to be out there. And I mean, I'm going to say like in 3 to 6 months, this is going to have hundreds of millions of dollars. In 6 to 12 months, where it's going to have, in all likelihood, billions of dollars in it. And give it, I don't know, 18 months, 2 years, tens of billions of dollars in it. That's my opinion. It's my judgment. So that's the medium term, like trade or speculation, which is that all that money that has been sitting there wanting a simpler, easier, more convenient way to access Bitcoin starts to go into this ETFs. And now it really starts to push the underlying, Bitcoin, if you will, the real Bitcoin price up, because it's in the end, what is Bitcoin? It's a limited supply digital asset. There's only 21 million that can ever be mined. Over 19 million already mined. So you've already got a scenario where it's a fairly scarce asset. 76% of it, based on a recent article, is now being held by long-term hodlers. Hodlers. What are hodlers? This is like somehow like a short form that has emerged in the crypto universe for hold on for dear life, because I mean, Bitcoin's volatility has been so insane since its creation that somehow people have come up with this word, hodl, for hodlers. So the folks who own Bitcoin, like me and many of the subscribers at ATG Digital Media, I mean, we've been holding Bitcoin since, I believe it's like 2019, my guess is. We're called hodlers because we just buy and we hold and we sit through the volatility. Well, the hodlers at this point own in excess of 76% of all of the supply that's out there. So what is going to happen when these billions and billions come to push into to buy the Bitcoin ETFs from BlackRock and VanEck and ARK Innovation and every other ETF company? Where are they going to find the Bitcoin? I mean, you're going to have to bid it up to get some of the hodlers to say, okay, well, I'm going to take my profits. And we've just gone through a very painful crypto winter process, crypto bear market. I'm not thinking I have any intention of selling until Bitcoin's significantly higher. And my best guess is that other hodlers like me, I don't think they're just like, all of you that didn't sit through all the volatility, didn't sit through all the pain, you want in at some nice cheap price. I don't have to hand it to you. No. So that means that as this money comes in, they are going to have to push Bitcoin higher and higher and higher until some supply starts to get released from existing hodlers. So that's the medium term. And I have theorized, I don't want to use the word predicted because I'm going to get some hate, I'm going to get spammed, I'm going to get like all kinds of trolling. So I'm not going to say predicted. I have theorized that by June of 2024, we'll be at over $100,000. Now, this again is not based on some perfect mathematical model. This is completely, really based on really following Bitcoin now very closely for 6-7 years. And tracking its movements and understanding sort of like the dynamics of demand and supply that drive the price. So not a guarantee, not a prediction, a theory, okay? $100,000. And I think that that's going to be, I think, it can overshoot probably on the upside and maybe it undershoots. I don't know. So that's sort of the medium side. But then look out a little bit further and we've then got another event. So let's call this the longer term, right? Which is the halving, shows up in April of 2024. What's the halving? Halving is an event that happens in Bitcoin where the new supply of Bitcoin halves. In other words, it's cut in half. All right. So currently, as a reward, if you solve the algorithm that Bitcoin sets, you currently will get, I think it's 6.25 Bitcoin. And the reward in April of 2024 is set to half to 3.125. So it's going to half. And what's that going to do? Well, what's going to do is that it eliminates half of the new supply that is coming into the Bitcoin supply chain network, whatever you want to call it. And it's going to cut that by half. Just as the demand for Bitcoin, in my opinion, is going to be ramping up. I mean, April of 2024 will be probably 5-6 months into the ETF approval. The big institutions will have vetted these ETFs. They will have had their conversations. They'll come up with an investment program. Well, we can't put all at once, so we'll buy a little bit of time. So they'll be starting to ramp up just as the halving hits in April of 2024. In other words, there's going to be a supply shock. Halved. And then there's going to be a demand boom. A boom, right? Huge demand, supply shrunk, 76% in the hands of the hodlers. Yeah, this is a recipe for some big gains, in my opinion, in my judgment. And I have theorized, not predicted, not promising, not a guarantee, that really by 2025, we have, I would say, a better than 50-50 shot of Bitcoin approaching $1 million. Yeah, I know. I put out a tweet. I put out an X. Sorry, Elon. I put out an X post this morning saying this. And I said, you can laugh now and you can troll me and the haters can come at me. That's all fine. You can cry later. But look, I've laid it out. We've got a Bitcoin ETF, which essentially acts like a giant sort of pipeline of money that can go into Bitcoin, right? Okay. So that's number one, right? Second, we've got the halving, which is a supply shock. Really cuts down new supply as supply is already incredibly limited, right? 76% of all the Bitcoin that's ever been mined is in the hands of people that's hey, I'm never letting this go. I get the game. This is a supply-demand game, and I get this game, and I am keeping mine. So you're going to have to get somebody else to give up theirs. And everyone is thinking the same thing. So you have to get bidded up really high to get there, right? So that's number two. And third, if you look at the state of the alternative, which is what? This fiat. What is fiat? It's cash. I don't really keep too much cash around. Otherwise, I'd throw some cash. But yeah, if you look at the condition of fiat, the United States, which controls the US dollar, the world's premier currency, the currency that has best held its value over the last 50 years, Every other currency looks far, far worse than the US dollar. Like, we have $33.6 trillion in debt, $33.6 trillion in debt. And I forget the exact number, but I think like something like 10 trillion of that has come about in the last 3 years. In other words, we are really pushing this money out really, really fast. And despite the Federal Reserve trying to control how much money people spend by raising interest rates, which, tries to get people to save, which would reduce the amount of money in the system. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be working very well because the economy is still growing. People are still spending. Retail sales are still going up. So there's more money that's out there than ever before. And everyone gets it. People aren't dumb. Everyone can see these numbers. The internet exists. X exists. So everyone is aware there is an extraordinary amount of money out there. And yeah, I mean, what's there that is accessible to everybody? People might think gold. Yeah, okay. Now, what are you going to do? Carry like a gold bar around and keep it in your house? You can't do that. I mean, some people own gold. And yeah, I mean, I know there's some like gold, folks out there, and don't troll me. Maybe gold goes up. I don't really know. I have not spent the time really to focus on gold. I'm focused on Bitcoin, but Bitcoin is widely available. Anybody with a cell phone, essentially anywhere in the world, can buy Bitcoin, and you can buy it in tiny increments. In other words, if you're in India and where you've got a small amount of money, you can still buy Bitcoin. You can't do that with gold. So that's a big difference. So Bitcoin is going to get a global bid as people understand, like, whoa, the dollar is not the dollar of, let alone 10 years ago, not of 20 years ago or 50 years ago. This is a very, very, very widely distributed currency that, in all likelihood, has a good chance of being devalued down because of the amount of debt that we have. And that's going to drive even more money into Bitcoin. So everything is lined up for a very, very, very big jump in Bitcoin if you are willing to sit through some ups and downs and deal with fear and uncertainty and doubt that comes with bull markets. So that's what is going on with Bitcoin. We've got the ETF coming. That's pretty much going to be a done deal. That's going to lead to a short-term pump. But then as the money starts to flow into the ETF, then we've got a bigger event, which is the halving coming, which is going to create a supply shock as demand booms. And then we're going to see the world wake up, I believe, just like, hey, there is an alternative and we should probably go to it. And that is going to lead to an even bigger price spike. All right. Hope you like this video. I have to move all these books. Oh my God. It moved from one side so I can get to, because I've been doing a lot of work, including on Bitcoin. But, check out my last video, which was on this. But, oh yeah, I have to get this. All right. This is Paul saying bye.